Hi everyone. Today we're looking at multiplying and dividing radicals. So on the left side, we're going to start with multiplying radicals. The easiest thing to remember is that you only need to multiply the numbers that are on the outside of the radical, the coefficients. 2 times 3 is 6. And then multiply the numbers that are on the insides of the radicals. So 5 times 8 is radical 4. But when you're multiplying, you still have to remember what we previously learned about how to simplify a radical. So even though you've multiplied them together, is that radical in its simplest form? If you're not sure, make sure to make a factor tree. Okay. We don't want to forget the 6 that's on the outside, so we're going to go ahead and put that down here at the bottom. We know that there's going to be a 6, and we don't want to forget about that 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put it down here. Now let's make a factor tree for 40. 40 is 2 times 20. 20 is 2 times 10. And 10 is 2 times 5. You can also use the perfect square method that we discussed in class also. I just noticed most of you were using the factor tree method, so that's why I'm using it also. From here, we circle any pairs. So we have a pair of 2s. Remember, guys, we're not circling any 2 pairs. We're only circling pairs of prime numbers. The numbers that are at the ends of the branches are what we're looking at. So we have a pair of 2s here, and then we have an extra 2 and an extra 5 that don't have a pair. Okay. The 2 that do not have a pair go on the inside of the radical. Okay. Remember we talked about how they don't have dates, so they're staying at home inside the house, otherwise known as the radical. With the pair, remember we mark one out and the other one goes on the outside, so it's going out here with the 6. Now all that's left is to multiply. 2 times 6 is 12, and 2 times 5 is 10. And that is our final answer for the multiplication. Multiplication part, very easy. Multiply the insides and multiply the outsides. But sometimes you will need to simplify. Other times, you won't have to. Okay? So division is very similar. When you are dividing the numbers that are on the outside of the radicals, the coefficients. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then you're dividing the numbers that are in the inside of the radicals. So radical 10 divided by radical 2 is radical 5. And then, of course, we look to see if we can simplify it if possible. Since 5 is a prime number, I cannot create a factor tree with 5, and it does not need to be simplified. It's already in its most simplest form. The last thing we're going to look at is what happens when you have a radical in the denominator, like we do here, radical 2. Normally, we would try to divide these, just like we did in the last problem. But 2 does not divide into 3 evenly. So it's not going to give us a nice, pretty whole number like 5. So what do? We do what's called rationalizing the denominator. We are trying to get rid of that square root. We do not want a square root in the denominator. Remember, the denominator means the bottom, okay? So how do we get rid of it? What we do is we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator, both the top and bottom, by that radical. So we're going to multiply the top by radical 2 and the bottom by radical 2, okay? I want to be clear, you're always multiplying by the radical that's in the bottom. We're not multiplying by radical 3. And you'll see the reason in a minute why we chose the bottom one, okay? So let's go ahead and multiply. In the top, we have 8, and then radical 3 times radical 2 is radical 6. And then in the bottom, radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4, and 4 is a perfect square. So we know the square root of 4 is 2. It actually is a whole number. That's why we did that, because now look, there's no more radical in the denominator. And we are almost done here, guys. We're not quite there yet. When we're dividing, remember, we need to look for these numbers that are the coefficient and the whole number in the bottom. You can actually divide those. You cannot divide with the 6 because it's inside the radical, but we can do 8 divided by 2. Okay? 8, the radical 6 will stay the same, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. And that is our final answer. If you have any questions about multiplying or dividing radicals, make sure to leave a comment below, or make sure to send me an email, okay? Have a great day, guys.